spent much of my life alone.
And for many years, pretended that this is the source of my strength.
I told myself I had free will until Vanessa. Until I discovered love. Love is the perfect prison. And if these things help me protect Vanessa, then they are nothing to me. I will do whatever I must.
Big chocolate, Pete. Go shot.
Convict. Don't move.
Who the heck is that guy? Oh, welcome to the Binge List. I'm your host, Paul Chappell. And the wait is over, guys. The wait is over. Daredevil is back. Season 3 came out on Netflix last night, and I was happy to watch the first 3 episodes. First episode was called Resurrection. Second episode, Please. And third was No Good Deed. And it was a little bit boring to start off. In the first episode, we found out what happens to Daredevil at the end of the Defenders. If you, like me, you've been catching up on all the Netflix shows, and you watch the Defenders, you know that Daredevil was trapped beneath a collapsing building the last time we saw him with Elektra. And, well, the question is, did they explain how he miraculously survived that collapsing building? Well, the answer is not really. And I say that because somehow he ends up in the sewer and he gets flushed out into the New York harbor, and somehow he gets on the dock. So, did they really explain it? No, they did not. They kind of just did what a lot of superhero shows do. They just did what they want to do, and because superheroes are magical. So if you want a superhero to survive something, they just survive, and no need to make a big explanation of it, right? But my biggest concern going into this episode was how Wilson Fisk was going to convince the police to release him. Do they answer that? And I have to say, yes, they do, to a certain extent. Like I said, I haven't seen the rest of the season, but one of the highlights of these first few episodes is that they make a reasonable argument as to why Wilson Fisk has to be released from prison. And I'm not going to reveal everything that's transpired up to this point, but suffice to say, he wants to get Vanessa back, and he finds out that she's going to be charged as accessory to his crimes for the first season. And he decides that he is going to work with the FBI and so that he can save Vanessa in exchange for this information he's going to give on these criminal enterprises. And some things happen, and the FBI sees that it's only reasonable to move him from prison. So, when we leave off the third episode, Wilson Fisk is living in a penthouse that the FBI has seized from some white collar criminal. Is it believable? Like I said, yes and no, but mostly yes. I mean, I think they did a good job of that. It's not. I was able to suspend my disbelief with that because they actually did bring up some points I brought up when I was reviewing the trailer a week ago, that Fisk killed police officers. So it's very unlikely he would ever be released from prison. But they do bring up the point when they're discussing releasing him. And take note, he's under house arrest. He's not completely free. So he's wearing an ankle monitor and he's being protected by FBI agents at all times. So he's not really free. But they do bring up the point that, yes, he has been accused of killing police officers. So how in the world can we release this guy? And they bring up the point that they don't really have solid evidence that he was behind these police officers' murder, even though they were killed while some of his henchmen were trying to release him from a transport. So maybe that was a little bit corny. They also bring up the fact that he's been indicted under five RICO counts, which is the racketeering statute, which is definitely a real thing. So like I said, your mileage may vary, but I found it a little bit more believable than Daredevil, surviving a collapsing building. So what did I not like about these 3 episodes? I did not like I've already mentioned, the fact that they kind of glossed over how he survives. I did not like the first episode. I thought it was a little bit boring. You got basically Matt Murdock, who is Daredevil. Matt Murdock decides that he does not want to resume his former life for whatever reason. So he hides the fact that he's alive from both Karen and Foggy, even though Karen is paying the rent in his apartment because she's the only one that thinks he's still alive for some ungodly reason, and Foggy doesn't. But he seems to mope a lot in the first episode. Part of the reason is because he's lost his ability to hear in one of his ears. So that naturally impedes his ability to fight and punch people in the face, which is what he was born to do, people. What he was born to do. Anyway, you actually see him get his ass kicked a couple times in the first episode, and I thought that was very interesting. That's actually one of the things I liked. But I did not like some of the scenes he has with Sister Maggie. And Sister Maggie is a nun in the church where he was raised in the orphanage. And she is pretty much antagonizing him for moping around and feeling sorry for himself. And I think he even compares himself to Job at one point. So you got him having a crisis of faith for some reason because he almost died. I don't really understand why he was having a crisis of faith. I guess it had something to do with his hearing loss and the fact that he's living life as a blind guy. I mean, if you're a blind guy, the time to lose your faith is when you actually went blind. So You find out they had to do a flashback that he used to go into the rectory, or I'm not a Catholic, so I might not be using the right terms there, but he goes into the pulpit area, or I don't know, wherever the congregates pray. And he has been listening to people's prayers all these years and thinking that God was calling him to help these people. Because, of course, he has enhanced hearing and he can hear everything. So I thought that was kind of interesting that he sees himself as this avenging devil. Avenging devil? Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway. First episode, boring. And also there was this point in the first episode where the show transitions into following an FBI agent who's having financial difficulties. And I almost, for a moment, thought that Netflix had screwed up and it had changed over to another show. I thought the Daredevil had ended and another show had started, because I kind of had dozed off at one point. So, but you find out that this agent is actually, he's being asked to go to Attica, I guess, is where Fisk is being held. He's been asked to go interview Fisk, and because he has a bad credit score, he hasn't been, this FBI agent, he hasn't been promoted in like something like 5 years, because the FBI apparently won't promote you. They think you can be bribed. So he's been given this crap assignment to go interview for Fisk. And naturally, Fisk is ready to make a deal with the FBI. And this agent, who is highly susceptible to being bribed, actually gets to do this interview with a Fisk who wants to make a deal. So naturally, the next episode, we see the FBI taking down a mob group, an Albanian mob group, with the information from this that this FBI agent obtained from Fisk. So, like I said, well, let me just answer the question most of you probably have right now. Is this something I should binge? So far, yes. Like if you can get past that first episode, there's some good material to be had in this episode. In the following episodes, you got Matthew Murdock running around investigating as a blind guy, not as Matt Murdock, the lawyer, but Matt Murdock, the blind-looking homeless guy. So I thought that was interesting that he's at the bottom again. He's at where he was before he got the uniform in season 1, and he doesn't have his Defender friends to help him. He doesn't have Foggy to help him. He doesn't have Karen to help him. He's doing it all on his own, and I found that interesting. And some of the stuff going in the background with Foggy is kind of interesting. You find out that his family owns a deli, and that his brother took over the deli, even though the family always expected Foggy to take over, which obviously doesn't happen since he goes to law school. But I found that interesting. Some of the stuff because I like Foggy as a character. I don't so much like Karen Page. I thought some of her stuff. I always thought it ludicrous that she became a reporter after getting the other reporter. I think his name was Ed, killed in the first season. Oh yeah, you want his job? Sure, a woman off the street who used to be a secretary. Come take this job. I always thought that was kind of ridiculous. But she's a pretty blonde woman, so of course she gets this job that she doesn't deserve, that she has no experience with. But I also find one of my least favorite parts of the show is Karen Page investigating stuff, because it just seems like something out of another show. Whenever she's on the screen, I just find it boring. So I didn't so much like the Karen stuff. I like Foggy stuff. I like where they put Daredevil. I like the fact that he's kind of homeless. He's living in the basement of this church. You find out that Father Lantham is actually like a surrogate father for him. Kind of raised him when his father died, which I don't think they really revealed in the other seasons. But he did live in an orphanage for a while. It always seems to me like Stick raised him, but you find out that Father Lantham had a lot to do with his upbringing, which was kind of interesting. But other than that, stuff with Kingpin is obviously the most interesting thing. As far as a villain, Wilson Fisk is a great villain. And the fact they got Vincent D'Onofrio to play him was just a great get for Netflix, because he is just a phenomenal actor, and he's just everything. If you were brought up with the comics, Daredevil comics or Spider-Man, because Wilson Fisk is a villain in both Spider-Man and Daredevil. But if you brought up with any of those comics, Vincent D'Onofrio is the essence of Wilson Fisk. He's just everything I could hope for in a Wilson Fisk. And I say that obviously as somebody who didn't see the Daredevil movie, but I just feel like he's perfectly cast, and he has the actual menace to him that Wilson Fisk should have. So, like I said, if I want to give you the three highlights for these first three episodes, it's where they have Daredevil, the fact that he's rising from the bottom up, and that he's running around trying to regain his sense of being, and trying to you got to understand, he gets his ass kicked twice in the first episode because his hearing is off and he can't really make sense of his surroundings. But that's what I think causes a lot of the tension and some of the and makes some of the problems you see with superhero shows sometimes is that the superhero gets a little bit too powerful and you don't fear for him. Well, I was starting to fear for Daredevil again, like I did that first season. So I thought they did a very good job with that. Like I said, Kingpin and Vincent D'Onofrio and Wilson Fisk, all that was just what I always hoped it to be. And the introduction of Bullseye is very interesting too, as another one of the highlights, because you find out that he might be. Well, I won't say too much about him, but I'll just leave that as a surprise. But the way they introduce Bullseye is very interesting. I think it's a new take on the character. I have to go back and read his background. Because I know they've had a comic book where they talk about his, they kind of retconned his origin story, and I never, that came out after I had stopped reading comics for a long time, so I'm not really that well versed in Bullseye, but it's very interesting what they're doing with this character, because the reveal in the third episode was really, really chilling. But I'll let you see it. I won't ruin that for you guys. But like I said, I will give this a recommend as something to put in your binge list. It looks like it's going to be a good season. And this comes, of course, on the heels of the fact that Netflix just canceled Iron Fist and Luke Cage. Now, I don't know whether that had to do so much with ratings or the fact that Disney is going to have their own streaming service coming out. May have been a little bit of both, because I have to admit, I did not watch Luke Cage, the second season. I was going to watch it. I hadn't got around to it. I did watch Jessica Jones right away, but that first season was kind of hit or miss, and I wasn't so excited about seeing the second season, and I'm feeling guilty about that because we need more shows with black leads, but it did get canceled, so I'm kind of concerned about Daredevil. But I'm getting the feeling that I have nothing to worry about with these first three episodes, but I'll let you also be the judge of that. But I'm gonna go watch a few more episodes, so tell me what you think in the comments, and if you haven't already, subscribe, because this is a great channel that you should watch all the time. And this is just one of 3 shows that I do. One of them, of course, is Kurt and Paul Discuss. The other one is Power Up, my video game show, which I don't get to do as much as I'd like since I do have another job. But if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. I'm doing the best I can here, and hopefully I can get some more compelling content. And I guess I will see you when I see you. Thanks for watching.